Hey everybody, Brian Boyle here. Now, welcome to episode 130 of The Mesh Tongue. It's Wednesday. Hopefully you're having a fantastic Wednesday. Appreciate all the thoughts and concerns for a family member that was in the hospital, that now out. So everything seems to be either miraculously recovery or something. Who knows? Who knows? But either way, doing much better and is now back home. So that's a relief, and kind of takes some of the strain off. For us that are worried about that person. But today I want to talk to you about the mile. Anybody out there running a mile? Okay, I know everyone's like, oh, in high school I used to run the mile and all this stuff, but what you're seeing, and there's a group called Bring Back the Mile. A couple years ago they started this really big push to bring back the mile distance. I really like the mile distance. It's near and dear to my heart because of high school. That's where I started off. That was the first thing that I had ever run for track was a mile. So it kind of is near and dear to my heart, but I think it's just a really good race because of the fact that it's fast enough to stress you. Okay, and if you really want to get good, it'll really stress you. Okay, but it's also short enough that you can really recover from it quickly. So I think anybody can run a mile. The 5K. Some people go, oh my gosh, I could never run 3 miles, or 10K, or half marathon, full marathon. There really isn't that same concern. Now, it does come down to how fast did you run your mile. And so, it's not the accomplishment of running a mile, because I think, like I said, everyone can run a mile. It's how fast now. So that may be the deterrence, the reason why some people are kind of dissuaded from running the 1 mile. They say, oh my gosh, I'm running like an 8-minute mile. Okay, you're running a 4:26 mile, whatever. Okay. Wasn't as big as an accomplishment as sometimes say the marathon, because a lot of people will go, well, I'll never run a marathon. So you run the marathon and you're like, oh, it's an accomplishment. Didn't care what my time was, just wanted to finish. Well, you're going to finish the mile. It's just a matter of your timing. And so I wouldn't let that stop you. I think it's just a fun race. I think it's a fun distance. We do have a shameless plug here. September 14th in downtown Salt Lake, we've got the Wasatch Mile. That is a race that I put on, and we'd love to have you out there. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about today, a thing called the Oregon System. And this was Hayward and Bowerman and Dellinger designed this over the last 50 years. It's been responsible for probably anywhere from like 40 to 45, maybe even 50 sub 4-minute milers. With that kind of longevity and with that kind of number of sub 4-minute milers, there's got to be something to it. So if you're looking for more, I'm taking this loosely. I've got some of my own stuff in here from an old newsletter called the Peak Running Performance. They no longer make this. I've looked for it online. You can find old issues. There's some people selling these things online. I've got hard copies myself. But there's a book, and that book is called High Performance Training for Track and Field. It was written, there's a chapter written by Bowerman and Freeman called Middle Distances. So a lot of that's in there if you're really interested and you're looking for this. But I'll touch briefly, because this could be like a 4-hour video, and if it's not, briefly on why the system works. So they've got 5 basic tenets of their model. First is moderation, second is consistency, third is gradual progression, fourth is variation, and fifth is adaptability. So they use moderation, emphasizes the hard, easy approach to training. Okay, mild and moderate training stresses are always followed by adequate rest periods to ensure full recovery and physiological adaptation. Really, I mean, it's the consistency is number 2, so you got to be consistent with this. So they're talking about mileage that's higher in some senses, and probably about the same that you'd be running for most of your 5K, 10K anyway, for most people out there. If we're thinking that, but it's consistently doing it, so you're adapting over time. So females, high school, 25 to 40 miles a week. Males, high school, 40 to 60. College-age females, 40 to 60 miles a week. College-age males, 60 to 80. Post-college, females 50 to 70, post-college males 70 to 90, and then age group runners, basically 35 to 65 years old, anywhere between 25 miles to 75 miles a week. Now, the goal with this, though, okay, is that you're basically looking at a well-rounded training program, since the body requires equal contributions from its aerobic and anaerobic training systems while racing the mile. So 2 big parts of the Oregon system is that they will adjust based off of your date, pace, to achieve your goal pace. So, say you start off and you're running 86-second laps. Okay, and 86 seconds would give you a 5:44 mile, and you're wanting to get down to an 80-second pace, okay, which would be a 5:20 mile. Okay, you can achieve this through consistency and moderation, rest, easing, all that fun stuff, in about a 20-week time frame. So you have to have time trials and intervals and all these things where you're starting off and you're progressively adapting to those over time to get to your goal pace. That makes sense? So date pace is the pace that you ran today in a time trial, where you want to be. You should be able to track that progression, and you should see about a 1 second improvement per week. Okay, so that over the time of 20 weeks, depending on your training level, obviously. Okay, so if you're an untrained runner, it's going to be a little bit faster. If you're a trained runner, still should see that, but it may be not as drastic. Okay, we'll see. So it depends on early races to late races, but as they talk about in here, there's the goal of starting off, and maybe you're running longer distances in the beginning. So, as you're starting off, you're running the, either the 3,200s, or maybe you're doing 2 miles or 5K races, to build strength early on in the season. So, you're doing your 5Ks and such, and then you're going down to 400 to 800 meter time trials on a track. And so sometimes those time trials can be where you've got other people and you're in a group run, so you've got somebody pushing you. That's always nice to have somebody else out there pushing you with that on a time trial day. So if you've got a running partner that may be a little bit faster than you, maybe set up a time trial that they'll be able to do. Or if you get into an all-comers meet, track clubs, especially in the spring, in your city may have an all-comers meet that put together a mile or 2 mile, maybe even a 5K on the track. And again, you use that as your time trial. So depending on when you're possibly going to be running these miles. But I think the big thing is that looking at unrealistic goals versus realistic goals, about the 20 seconds is about the max that you should expect in any one season. Okay, so you don't want to set yourself up for failure. But I think if you haven't given them 1 mile a try in a while, maybe you're just doing something on the treadmill and you're like, oh, I just did a time trial, I was trying to just keep my marathon pace or whatever, you may consider, at least for one season, especially if you're trying to get faster at maybe 10K, maybe the half marathon, is maybe take a season and train for the mile. And you just might be surprised at how much faster you get in your 5K, 10K half. You never know. Never know. So, episode 130, The Mesh Tongue. My name's Brian Boyle. Check out runpainless.com. If you have questions, send them to me, brian@company5k.com. I'll be happy to get back to you. This is Wednesday. I'll be back again tomorrow. Please don't go hurt yourself to come back. But as I always say, share this with your friends, your family, your training partners. And until next time, we'll see you again.